On the morning of January 30th, 2024, Michael Mohn, 68, awoke in his quiet suburban home in Levittown, Pennsylvania, unaware of the storm brewing within his own family. Wearing his usual blue shirt and sipping coffee, he scrolled through emails, unaware of his son Justin, 33, silently watching from the living room corner. Michael didn't notice the tense gaze and the sharp glint of anticipation in Justin's eyes. Beneath the surface calm, seeds of hatred had been growing, fed by months of political paranoia. While the father enjoyed a simple morning, a chilling plan had already taken root, ready to erupt. In the weeks leading to the crime, neighbors noticed something was off in the Mohn household. Visits became rare, and whispers started when Justin began posting anti-government rants on Facebook and Twitter. His mother, Denise, reportedly called mental health services multiple times, but help never came. Inside Justin's room were blueprints, drawings of federal buildings, and downloaded files about bomb-making. Still, the family clung to silence, hoping this was a phase that would pass. But this wasn't rebellion, it was radicalization. And in that home of denial, danger festered until the line between thought and violence finally shattered. As dawn broke that dark day, sunlight spilled through the living room curtains while Michael prepared for work at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Dressed in his cap and carrying his leather bag, he smiled and waved goodbye. He expected to hear his car start, but instead came a gunshot. A single bullet pierced the silence and tore into his chest. He collapsed, blood staining the carpet, as a stunned neighborhood watched in horror from behind their curtains. That single moment shattered decades of family history, transforming a son into a killer and a quiet home into a crime scene.
Justin didn't stop with the gunshot. Gripped by rage and warped ideology, he grabbed a large knife and a hatchet from his closet. Standing over his father's body, he began a gruesome ritual, cutting and hacking, slow and deliberate, as if making a statement. He held his father's head in his trembling hands, choking it one last time, even in death. Blood soaked the living room as he dismembered the body in silence. It was horror and hate colliding in a single act, a home invasion by one's own blood, driven by conspiracy and delusion, leaving only carnage behind.
After the act, Justin wiped his hands, picked up his phone, and opened YouTube. He recorded a 14-minute video, calmly placing his father's severed head in view. "This is a message to traitors of the people," he said, his voice eerily steady. As footage of the murder played, he delivered a manifesto filled with anti-government rhetoric and calls for revolution, set to ominous music. The video stayed online for 5 hours, gaining thousands of horrified views before it was taken down. Justin hadn't just committed a crime. He broadcast it as a political act, turning murder into propaganda.
Clips from the video quickly spread across Facebook, Twitter, and Telegram. The internet exploded in outrage. Critics slammed YouTube for failing to remove the content fast enough. At the same time, Justin began posting audio clips on Telegram, urging the creation of citizen militias and hinting at future attacks. The digital echo chamber amplified his voice, and public discourse erupted around free speech versus platform responsibility. Law enforcement scrambled to identify any copycats or potential supporters. The online world had become a battlefield, and Justin had turned social media into his weapon.
After disappearing for a day, Justin resurfaced, this time attempting to enter Fort Indian Town Gap, a military base. Dressed in camouflage and carrying a Sig Sauer handgun, he believed sympathetic soldiers would join his cause. But the gate guards grew suspicious when he couldn't present valid ID and showed them maps of planned attacks. When he tried climbing the fence, security detained him and confiscated explosives from his backpack. The revolution he envisioned ended in handcuffs. Sirens wailed in the distance as the last act of his failed uprising came to a quiet, pathetic close.
By June 2025, Justin Mohn stood trial in Bucks County Court without a jury, given the severity of his charges. He faced 30 counts, including first-degree murder, domestic terrorism, and abuse of a corpse. Prosecutors presented the full video, crime scene photos, and testimonies from his mother and neighbors. Forensic experts testified that Justin was fully aware and mentally competent. His defense tried to argue political motivation, claiming he acted out of patriotic duty, but the judge rejected it. The courtroom was silent, gripped by the horror of what they'd seen. A homegrown extremist in his purest, ugliest form.
On July 11th, 2025, Judge Stephen Core delivered the final verdict, guilty on all counts. He described Justin as a calculated, remorseless domestic terrorist, and sentenced him to life in prison without parole. The courtroom held its breath. Justin sat motionless, eyes cold, as if the verdict didn't touch him. In the gallery, family members and supporters of victims broke down in tears. The judge concluded, "This is not a tragedy of madness. It is a crime of ideology and hate." It was a moment of justice, but not peace. Some wounds don't close.
Months have passed, but the Mohn family remains fractured. Denise now attends grief counseling and has started an advocacy group for victims of domestic terrorism. Her home is quiet, too quiet. Lawmakers introduced new legislation pushing for stricter social media regulation and early mental health intervention. The internet still remembers the day the algorithm failed and a father's life became a live stream. The tragedy of Michael Mohn became more than a crime. It became a warning that sometimes monsters don't lurk in alleys. They sit at the dinner table, and sometimes they post.